Liza Gentile from Johnson Wales Alumni Office. Thank you all so much for coming tonight to this presentation. We have three fantastic alumni here tonight to provide some advice, and our moderator Hazem to lead them in some great questions. So enjoy, and I hope you'll stick around after for the reception. We have some great food for you as well.
Thanks, Liza. Good evening, everybody. My name is Hazem. I'm a 1990 graduate from Johnson Wales University. I'm pleased to be co-hosting and moderating the panel this evening. Tonight we have Akanksha Aga. Is that right? Akanksha Aga is with the Experience Director with Flake, who does catering services, and I'll let you introduce Flake and your history in a moment. Mike Levine, who's a superstar entrepreneur who started a number of businesses, including food services in the school system, and is really trailblazing production and development of school healthy products and services in the industry there. And then Matt Schechter, who has a history at Marriott for almost a decade, went to San Diego, and then for some reason came back to New York City, and is part of the New York City and Company representation for the city here as well too. We'll start with you, Matt. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are right now, and then we'll jump into the questions.
Sure, happy to thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be on the panel with you guys. Again, Matt Schechter. I graduated from the Providence campus in 2005, the hotel management school at Providence, and I did an internship with Marriott during my time at Johnson & Wales, and that was my foot in the door in the hotel industry there. Then, as you mentioned, about a decade with Marriott in sales and marketing mostly, and kind of worked my way up the ladder there. My last role with Marriott was a senior account executive, where I was representing the top 10 accounts at the highest spend level with Marriott. So L'Oreal, ExxonMobil, those type of companies. And I would source a lot of meetings to San Diego and develop the relationship there. And an opportunity came up to represent the beautiful city of San Diego, which I did very willingly for 3 years. That was a great experience. I probably would not have left the role in San Diego for any other city. Maybe like Italy or Ibiza, but I don't think that would be
like Como.
Like Como would be nice. But New York City, being a New Yorker, the opportunity to represent the city of New York as the official destination marketing organization was something that I certainly could not pass up, and I'm going on 2 years with NYC company. So there's a lot in between. That's kind of the broad overview of my path.
And Mike, you're the freshest graduate.
Yeah, I think so.
Right?
So my name is Michael Levine. I graduated in 2011, 2012, kind of like right on that transition. So I graduated 11, 12. I am currently the founder and CEO of Global Food Solutions. We create health and wellness products, primarily focused on the school food service industry.
Important. It's all about the relationship that you make. And this is not a plug that Lori or Liza or Steve asked me to do. I genuinely mean that. So my name is Akanksha, and I think the only reason Hazem had me here is so we could sort of even out those of us that graduated when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. I got my bachelor's in India, and struggling with the fact that it's going to be my 20th year since I graduated, even though in my heart I'm in my 20s, but clearly I'm not. So I guess to summarize my 20-year career history, I've worked for 3 organizations. Taj Hotels in India, it's a premier luxury hotel company. I got my bachelor's from India and went right to them in their management training program. As I saw GMs coming into the hotels, I saw they either had an MBA from the UK or the US, and so I said, okay, well I guess that's what I have to do. Applied to Johnson Wales. This is actually before I graduated, they had sort of hooked me up for this opportunity. Ended up being for Johnson Wales for over 12 years, and really enjoyed all the various challenges that were either came my way or I kind of raised my hand and said, I'll do it, and we ended up working with some amazing people. As I was getting to a point where I realized, I missed the industry, and I loved what I was doing. I loved the relationships that I had built, but I felt like I needed to have a new challenge. So Flick Hospitality was one of the companies that I used to work with in my former role, along with so many other companies. I ended up absolutely loving it. So in my current role, I'm the experience director with Flick Hospitality, overseeing the training and guest experience piece for some of our luxury airport lounges, as well as training and supporting the New York region, which is business and industry food service. Did I answer your question?
Very well. You've done this before. So Akanksha, tell us in practical terms, what is the experience that you're responsible for?
You know you're at a Johnson Wales event, right? Because you said practical. We're all about that. So I feel like experience is turning into one of those words like handcrafted and artisanal and curated, right? Where you see it everywhere you go. I think we're in the experience economy. For those of you that are in food service or retail or even hospitality, it's all about experiences. You can go out and buy a new pair of shoes and you may lose that oomph after a while, but an experience is unique, right? That's something that triggers emotions and memories in you, and a lot of, I believe the term is FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So that's where an experience is something that's really unique to you. So in my role, I do a few different things. I work with, engaging and developing our talent so that they can have that culture where we're creating experiences for our guests. But also working on innovations that help make those experiences even more special. In some ways, it's back to basics and having just personalized service, but consistently, right? If it's done great on one day, not so much on the other, then it's not really a great experience, right? It's just, you came in, you had great service, and the next day not so much. Consistency is one of those very boring but important things in an experience. So taking all training, systems, ways to measure that, and then really supporting our management team in helping them with any needs that they may have, because they have an operation to run. But I can come in and support them from either a training perspective or come in and say, well, hey, how can we look at some of the comments that are coming in and be more proactive?
So client feedback is the measure of the experience. Right? I know you've got 2 or 3 of your employees are here this evening, and they're all responsible for the experiences of their respective clients.
Actually, they're part of the New York team, so I'm very proud JWU alumni.
So, Matt, here's the first curveball. In New York City that you represent, what is that experience that you're trying to deliver to your client base?
Okay. Well, that is a curveball. So New York City, firstly, is all 5 boroughs of New York. A lot of people, when they think New York City, they just think Manhattan. And if I say it's just Manhattan, I'll have a borough president pop out somewhere and maybe on the back of the head here. But I think one of the keys is not to generalize when you're talking about your audience. Each marketing campaign that we work on, or in my case, when we're working to bring a large convention from the Convention and Visitors Bureau side, it's all about qualifying who your audience is and the specific market, and kind of making New York City small, if you will. It's such a large city. You have over 118,000 guest rooms in the 5 boroughs, over 24,000 restaurants in the 5 boroughs. But when you're talking about marketing the city, it's really working to identify who the client is, what the campaign is, and making it specific to that.
A very diverse set of experiences that people are actually looking for, right? Very different.
Absolutely.
So earlier tonight we were talking about doing yoga and cycling in Times Square on Saturday mornings. Not for me. I'm a yoga guy, but not in Times Square.
Namaste. Yeah, and we had an opportunity this past weekend to promote Times Square along with one of our newest hotel partners coming online, which is the TWA Hotel, which will be JFK Airport. So it's a reinvention of the old Howard Hughes flight hangar, which is in JFK by the JetBlue and Delta terminal. So, you know, in New York, it's all about PR, getting your message out to the world. They took one of the original planes, they pulled it into Times Square, and they had an event to showcase what that's going to be. Next, it will be pulled to JFK, and they're going to retrofit it to turn into a cocktail reception bar, while you'll be able to host events up to 350 people on the plane and in the surrounding area. So just one example of a, you know, event that's happening around the city.
And just so that airplane also used to be a marijuana drop plane, right? Big Airbnb.
I don't know anything about that.
I do. So Mike, in your business, you're very focused on wellness, health, good nutrition for school kids, making sure that they have the energy and the capacity to focus on their studies and be engaged with the classroom learning experience and whatnot. What is it that you're in 35 states now, you have 28 production facilities. What is it that you're after from an experience perspective?
Yeah, for us, kind of as these guys shared, I think the experience is everything. Everything from, you know, who our ultimate customer is, where in a lot of cases we may sell to a school, but the school doesn't necessarily place the purchase order, right? That may go through a distribution chain. So, you know, the experience in the simplest sense starts with everything, how we process orders, how responsive we are, how we get back to people, even when, you know, schools see a product at a trade show and they reach out to our email box. I mean, I think we're running an average response time of less than an hour across 24 hours a day, getting back to these people, getting the documents, getting nutritionals, whatever they may need. So from, you know, the simplest experience standpoint for us, it starts with all areas of our business. And we don't use automated phone call systems. You know, somebody answers the phone, somebody writes an email back. You know, the simplest sense. But in terms of what we're really after, working with the kids and the products we create and how we want to go about building and distributing them, you know, the experience that we're trying to build, and I think the experience we've been able to build at this point is what's helped us be so unique. You know, our goal has been to create these high quality products, drive that innovation through scale, remove layers of marketing in terms of marketing costs and dollars that big companies have, but not really remove the marketing of the package. You know, for us, we recognized really early that to print on a printed bag of chips, as an example everybody could, you know, recognize, what you print on the package is the same cost no matter what the design looks like, right? So if you put the thought process in and create something up front, it costs me the same amount of money as it costs somebody else to print, you know, a food service, continuous logo, wrapped item, which is very, very common. So, you know, we really wanted to take that idea, especially with some of our newer products, to the extreme. And when I say the extreme, I mean our new muffin flat product that we launched. It's a proprietary baking process, a lot of unique skills in terms of, you know, just what we've been able to create compared to, you know, a regular muffin and hybrids and all these other things. But we took it many steps further. We used matte branded packaging. That was something that wasn't seen in schools. We used barcodes. We put nutritionals on the package. We, you know, create this message of campaign and awareness because we want the kids to. We don't want to hide anything. You know, a lot of people don't realize that an Aunt Jemima pancake, for example, you know, you buy it in a school or a hospital or the military or general food service or the grocery store. Every single one of those is different. It's a different recipe. It's a different formula. It's different flours. It's, you know, and they're cheating the system all the way through. Where we're doing the opposite. We're creating these high quality products, giving them to kids, creating that experience at scale with, you know, clients like New York City Public Schools, Dallas, Seattle, Florida, Carolinas, I mean, in 35 different states, that these kids don't traditionally have access to these products. These are products that would sell for $2, $3, $4 a unit, but we're keeping that volume to provide it in schools. You know, we get 100 requests a month of parents, hey, where can I buy this? Are you on e-commerce? It's like, no, our volume is for schools, and we're allocating it towards that until we continue our expansion. So, you know, I think that experience it's everything for us. You know, if the kid doesn't like the product I put out there, our brand is ruined and the experience is ruined, and they're not going to come back a second and third time. And I think, you know, people forget that the customer makes the ultimate decision, you know, and that experience is what that customer is going to make that decision on all areas, whether it's your responsiveness to packaging to, you know, even a simple typo on something. So I think experience is pretty much everything.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. So it's human centricity, being mindful about who your end consumer is, and what is it that they are going through in whatever role and whatever means that they're interacting with your product or service or whatever it is that you're delivering in the marketplace as well too. And for somebody like Matt with New York City, that's so many different things for so many different people in so many different ways, right? And Mike, in your case, you have a very strong focus in this nutrition and wellness and delivering a high quality product to be consumed by the student and perhaps others as well too, teachers and administrators and things like that. And doing it in a way that is as low cost as possible and delivering something that is the highest freshness, nutrition value, and arriving where it needs to be at the right time and place, right? And taking care of your clients in that sometimes you're dealing with an administration, right? That is very far removed from the actual delivery and consumption of what it is that you're really after.
Correct.
Good. All right. So, you know, it's interesting when I was listening to your stories earlier as well. So I started off at Johnson Wales University in the mid-1980s, and I was in hospitality for about 10 years or so. And then one day I figured out it's better to be a guest, so I worked to get out of the business. And I got there in a very rather circuitous fashion. You guys have some stories within yourselves as well too that has you sort of move from one area into another. And Akanksha, I'll start with you and tell us a little bit, or pick one thing that had you. How is it that you got from Taj to you know, your MBA studies and then back into the business? What it didn't happen overnight. There was a journey there. What was that journey?
That's a great question. And, you know, when I was at Johnson Wales and in career services, I would draw these two little dots and say your career is never going to be like a straight line from point A to point B. I think there were definitely some key things that still stayed with me. So, little fun fact, my very first job as a student assistant and my last position when I was overseeing the foreign relations program were both in John Hayes and White. But when I was a student in the master's program, I was sort of walking around looking for an on-campus job and stumbled upon the leadership office. At that point, it was called the Center for Leadership Studies. I don't think it's a department, but I think it's now part of everyone's curriculum. And they weren't hiring at that point, but they thought they might be. So I networked with them and sent them an email right away. And lo and behold, they ended up hiring me. So as part of the student assistant for that office, I got to do something that I've always loved, which is read. And I still do. I'm not able to as much as I did before, but I still try to get as much content as I can. And we're so fortunate these days that you don't even have to actually carry books, right? You can get that content anywhere. Just make sure that you're not going by the 140 characters that Twitter limits us to, right? Really look into the content. But there was this great little book that had come out at that point that was called Who Moved My Cheese? And one of the things that was in it that said, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I carried that in my little wallet until my wallet got stolen in chestnuts. But that's a whole other story for another day. Most of you probably don't remember chestnuts. Chestnuts! All right, we got a round of applause for chestnuts. Look at that. But think about that, right? What would you do if you weren't afraid? And what's stopping you from doing that now? And that's been the question that I've asked myself anytime I've been in doubt. And if I feel like that is something that I will regret, and I will go out and I will do it. And I think, besides that, I think in terms of my career, it's about being open-minded, it's about asking a lot of questions, it's about knowing what you don't know. I certainly was not qualified as a 25-year-old to be teaching classes on career management. Of course, I was trained to do that, thanks to the university. They didn't just stick me out there. But a lot of that also meant, being aware of what I did not know and trying to learn that, right? And trying to be aware of what your strengths are and what your areas of opportunity are, and how do you go out right and work on them. So I think the best thing that I would say is, to keep an open mind and not be afraid of asking questions. When I was an international student, I used to go out and sit with as many different cultures as I could. I would still hang out and celebrate with my friends from India, but for me it was also important to learn about different cultures because, when you come from a different country, my belief was that I had the responsibility of learning things around me. So if I sat with students from India all the time, it would be my comfort zone. It would be great. But you have to step out of your comfort zone and go out and seek opportunities that you traditionally would not. I think that was a lot of the same advice I shared with students that I worked at when I was at Johnson Wales and say, you're going to go to these career fairs and networking events, and you have your sort of list of companies that you're going to go after, but what about those that you may never have heard of, that you may never have considered? And then I think the other piece is relationships. The reason I called Flick was because that was a relationship that I had seen had grown over the years, and they meant what they said, and they did what they said they would do. So to me, that really stood out. To me, their brand was true to who they were. I had worked with Taj Hotels, which is a very high-end luxury hotel. So to me, part of that sort of luxury element was important. Sustainability was important, and that's something that Flick believes in. We can, tell you exactly which farm our carrots are coming from, or we can tell you how, we're saving food. If we just had an expo where our corporate chef was talking about the fact that, if you take cilantro, the stems of cilantro taste just like cilantro. So why are we throwing all of that great food away, right? Let's use it. Let's educate our guests about things like that. So I think for me, any organization that I have worked with has been one that has been true to my beliefs. Everything else you can learn. Everything else you can learn if you're open to. But I think if you find organizations that you connect with, go out there, build the right relationships, learn.
So be curious, network, and don't be afraid. Mike, you're not afraid.
Not as an entrepreneur.
No, I mean, I think with what we've built, I think, like you said, one of the most important things is to not be afraid. I think you have to take a lot of risk, a lot of calculated risk. For us, what we've been able to build, I think, is just really something very special. We don't, something I'll share with the group, we don't have investors, we're entirely self-funded, we have no debt. So we've really built something that we are in, complete control of. And there was definitely a lot of risk, I think, when we were going through that kind of scale-up process, and even today, it's simple things, worrying about turning POs and turning risk, and like, oh, we could buy this today, but wait, hold that, don't, buy that tomorrow, move this, and for the first couple of years, I think it was all risk-taking in the idea and what we were creating and trying to get, in a lot of ways, schools and people to buy into our belief. And I think that's one of the most important things in more of an entrepreneurial role in that type of mindset is to, have this desire and ambition for what you want to create. No one's ever going to be able to see it, right, until you create it. it's kind of like our vision. It's still coming to life, and we talk about this all the time in our team meetings. We feel where we're at currently, we've just built a really great launch pad. Until we're in every school in America, until we're reaching 40 million kids as opposed to 5 million plus kids now, there's a lot of room for growth, and there's a lot of room for risk, and managing that risk and scale up process. But I think it creates a lot of unique opportunities. I think calculated risk is very important, but I think uncalculated risk can be your demise. Whether it's a business decision or it's a personal decision, career move. I think a lot of times people see things at face value. They don't play devil's advocate in their own mind. They don't split it even equally. 60-40 doesn't help you, right? Be real with yourself. Be real with the risk and the things you want to do and the things you want to set out to accomplish. Because quite honestly, you're really the only person holding you back. Like when I left Johnson & Wales, I was intrigued by food safety. I had done a lot of things. We now do a tremendous amount of manufacturing. And since I've graduated, I have over 28 different food safety certifications for machine design and food safety auditing and plant maintenance and chemicals and all sorts of random stuff. And absolutely by no means, right? I went to school.
So exciting, right?
I went to culinary school, right? I was like, I'm gonna cook everything. I'm the best chef in the world. But I just think that if you never stop learning and if you really keep pushing yourself in terms of that calculated risk and just keep creating in your mind, trying things, exploring, I think you're gonna win in the long run. I think I fail a lot more than I succeed, but I think that's why we've succeeded as much, because we're willing to fail 10 times for every one time we succeed.
Not afraid.
Definitely not.
Good man.
Nervous, but not afraid.
That's okay. That's good. I didn't mention Forbes, top 30 under 30, Forbes Business Council.
Yep,
right?
Forbes Business Council. Inc. 5000 we won, which is pretty cool. That's really the one I think that I find most inspiring, I think. And it's not because the Inc. is numbers and metric based more than the Forbes or anything else. It's because to me the Inc. one is something that required our whole team effort. Clearly I can't do every task in the company, right? So, for me, the Inc. award that we won was really a team accomplishment. The Forbes award, it's great, it's a really cool thing, but it's kind of like a PR boost in itself, and to me, it's more about the team, the people who support me. My team has done things I don't really want to say up here. They've worked so hard and so many hours and committed just so much without actually even being asked to. So yeah, we've been really fortunate to win some just really great awards, but love when the team's able to be recognized, and in my opinion, they deserve that.
Fabulous. Matt, when you're looking forward, Marriott, San Diego, New York City, based on what you learned in school and your experiences so far, what do you think about next?
So, tough acts to follow these two, by the way. I think Akanksha touched on this point in your last question, that success really isn't a straight line. Take a step back before Johnson & Wales. My first hotel job was at a Sheraton property in New Jersey. I was about 17 as a banquet server, and my idea was to listen in on all these financial insurance seminars as I was serving tables and figure out what I wanted to do. And I fell in love with the hotel industry that way. Just that it was everyone else's home. It was an opportunity to be an extension of different companies, and just you open the doors to so many cultures and things happening. So that's when I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do for a career path. And of course, Johnson & Wales was a great platform for that. And to answer your question as far as where to go next, I mean, New York City is forever changing. As far as what's happening here, put it in perspective, we're adding on what San Francisco has in their entire city as far as hotels onto what we already have in New York City. So putting in extra 25,000 hotel rooms in New York City. So that feels like another job. But a lot of what inspires me when I think about the future and what's happening next is also extracurricular outside of the organization, being involved with a lot of industry associations, volunteerism. I'm proud to say that I'm the chairman of a small group called Northeast CBB Reps. So it brings together 40 other destinations, and we get together about 4 times a year and do client events. And what's kind of cool about that is when I was younger in college, certainly, I would consider a hotel across the street or certainly a city competitor. Maybe not understand why I would work directly with them or certainly partner with them. And I think that, when you have the mentality that if you're able to make a partner successful, maybe someone that's not in your own vested interest, it kind of helps you as a community, and you can learn from many other people. And it's an example where I might go into an appointment with Las Vegas or LA, and they may actually earn the business, but you're developing a relationship with a client, and you're earning trust there, and you're just building long-term relationships with your industry, not necessarily just for yourself or your particular organization.
Co-opetition.
Competition.
Right. So we're moving from competing with one another to collaborating with one another for greater long-term sustainable returns. They might win this year, you might get it next year, somebody else gets it the next year as well too. What other sorts of skills or character traits and mindsets are you seeing that are winning in the marketplace now that you'd like to share with folks here and watching us on Brazen as well too? What is it that is winning in the marketplace from as an individual and somebody who's part of a team, right? And has people all over the country in different locations as well too.
Sure. I think a lot of the core values haven't changed over years. Like it's such a relationship-driven industry. The relationships you build are so important and strong. Then to take that into the future, speaking of Brazen and Facebook Live and all the technology, people that know how to be innovative and work the technology, but without giving up the core competencies of you can't shake hands with almost said a fax, but I don't think anyone uses fax anymore. But the expression is, you can't shake hands with an email, you can't go to lunch with a voicemail. So really that face-to-face communication. One thing I find amazing in our industry, if I look at who I went to college with, who I was with as colleagues throughout my several roles in the industry, they're all in different places. So someone could be a colleague today, they could be your supervisor tomorrow. You could be, overseeing them or partnering with them, a year, 2 years from now. So staying in contact. I'm a big advocate of LinkedIn. I'm proud to say I have over 10,000 contacts on LinkedIn. Many of them are acquaintances that I would like to, we'll get to know better in the future. But others are strong relationships that I have that I keep track of where they're going, and maybe there's something down the line where we can partner together in the future. It's not their current role now.
Mike? A lot of logistics, partnering with other facilities and people to see your vision get rolled out?
Yeah, for us, I think some of the most important things are discipline. I think a lot of people nowadays with just everything, with the media, with social media, with everything that we all consume, I think everybody thinks everything they touch, it has to happen so instantly. That illusion of overnight success and creating things. And, I feel like you can't read any business section of anything anymore without XYZ company raised, this amount of money, or they're doing this, or they're doing all these different things. But the reality is we're focused on the 1% of companies when you're looking out there, and to me that's not discipline, that's terrible mismanagement, because most of those companies don't go anywhere, they're VC funded. It's just the reality. And it's because they don't have that discipline. They don't have that financial discipline in that case, but really corporate discipline and personal discipline, right? To be able to hold yourself to something. People look at what we've been able to build now and what we continue to build, and how did you do it so fast, all these different things. And the reality is it's not an overnight success. I've been working 7 days a week, traveling the entire country, 1 million+ flight miles later and everything else. And it's all about that discipline. It's believing in what we're creating, and the mindset and the vision of what we want to build. And we've certainly had our ups and downs. We've had years that we do tremendous and we're doing great, and then we've had years where we lose some bids, and we had supply issues, and we couldn't keep up with certain productions, and it's not so great. But I think it all comes back to that level of discipline, and I think that was something that I really picked up at quite honestly a young age. You know, I've always worked in kitchens and restaurants, and you know, some of those crazy chefs that throw things around the kitchen. We all know a few of those, but you know, that level of discipline, even going to Johnson Wales, you know, having to press your uniform, the simple things, kind of staying in that routine. I think it builds a mindset of, you know, strength, and I think that's something that if you can understand the simple premise and then apply it to really kind of whatever you want to apply it to, I think it could be tremendously helpful. So I think discipline is the most important thing.
It's fabulous. Akanksha.
I would completely agree with discipline. My father was in the army, so I was not leaving the house until my shoes were polished and bed was made. And till date, I make my bed. My husband will say, I don't think the bed making police are coming in, but it's a thing of discipline. Nowadays, I'm traveling all the time, and I still make the bed in the hotel. I think that, you know, we are at an amazing time where you are getting so much information, but to Mike's point, don't let that noise get to you, right? There's some information that you can actually apply. That's the key thing, it's apply, right? We went to Johnson Wales, which is all about being able to apply our information, our knowledge in the practical setting. So, you know, what were those things you learned about leadership that you want to apply now? Same thing with content that you're seeing all over. But then there will be other information that you may not need to apply. It's just sort of good to know, and having the discipline to say no to things will give you the opportunity to say yes to the things that you really should be doing. Because if you're trying to do everything, there's clearly something important that is not getting done. And that was something that was really tough for me. Coming from a hospitality background, saying no was not in my DNA. But I realized that if I kept saying yes to everything, there was definitely going to be something that I would drop. And it was, you know, trying to prioritize. I'm not saying say no when your CEO walks down the road and say, can you help me with this project? No, that would not be the time to do it, right? But obviously there's certain things that you just have to sort of say, well, let's prioritize and think about, you know, where our resources are best invested doing that. Be kind. To their point, you just, you know, it's so basic. Be kind, right? I have some of my best conversations with Uber drivers at 5 in the morning when, you know, they're taking me to the airport, because I think sometimes we lose ourselves in technology. I mean, by the end of the day, I'm ready to use my digital key to get into my room, but at the same time, it's just as important to have that balance. And I guess my next thing is balance. Know when to use technology and when to build relationships. I actually have something that I wanted to share with each of you. I still write thank you notes. I handwrite thank you notes when I'm at one of my, so I have 11 lounges as part of my team, and there are some that I don't get to see all the time, right? So it's really great to connect with them and work with them, and as I'm leaving, I think about, okay, who do I want to thank? So I took the liberty of buying some thank you cards, and with Nadine and Tyler's help, I'd love to just pass them around and you know, ask that when you get an opportunity, write a thank you card to someone who had an impact on your life, whether it was a mentor, maybe it's a teacher back at Johnson Wales, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a colleague, or just someone that you think needs a little kindness. So certainly don't have to do that right this very minute and take away from the program that we have at hand. But I think sometimes those little things go a long way.
Thank you. That's fantastic. I was on my way over here this afternoon. I stopped in Washington Square Park for a few minutes to soak up some sun. It's a very lively part of the city. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it. But sitting across from me on a bench was a woman who was writing cards. And I watched her for a few minutes watching the cards, and when I got up to make my way over here, I felt compelled to walk over to her and to egg her on and let her know that I thought it was fantastic that she's taken the time to write notes. I don't know if she was writing to her ex-boyfriend or what. But nonetheless, the human connection, that you spoke about that and how important that is, this concept of the technology being there to go to and having a balance between one, knowing to use it and help develop it, the discipline in there as well too. We're going to open it for questions here, so think of your questions real quick, but I want you guys to tell us one thing about your experience at Johnson Wales University that nobody else knows.
I lived in a world where I was thankful Facebook did not exist.
Oh, yeah.
Weren't we all?
Oh, I'm
Mike
gonna
is
go.
ready
I'm
to
gonna go
answer.
first. Oh, God. So one thing from my past when I was at Johnson & Wales that nobody knows. So I was kind of in an interesting position when I was at school. I'd gone to culinary school, long story short, had a really bad arm injury, lost movement in my left hand. Really started to focus on more of the food science aspect, was doing the business degree part. But I actually had to go back and finish a couple culinary classes to wrap everything up. So I had a couple of classes like baking and pastry, and I had already been working on some projects for the school industry. So I was actually kind of, I guess, in a way, leveraging some of the teachers to give me free consulting. So in the baking and pastry class, I still have my notes because, right, flour science, it's the same as it's been for the last 50 years. So, I was asking, hey, what if I do this? If I add whole grains, I'm asking all these questions, and I'm going to my nutrition teacher, and I'm like, hey, what if I do this? Like, these guys are like, what do you got? What are you working on? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just intrigued. I'm not really intrigued. I'm trying to build something on the side, right? So, yeah, it's probably something that probably most people don't know is that I was, I guess at that point, trying to leverage the help of my teachers to start my products and business.
I bet you do that all the time.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Matt, for you first?
Either way, sure.
Share another bag. I don't know if it works because it's online.
No, really. I mean, I think when I really tried hard to find an embarrassing story, but I'm very boring.
What? It doesn't need to be embarrassing. It
Good.
can be something.
I
wasn't implicating anything.
It would have made it fun. I mean, they would have gotten likes, but no, nothing embarrassing really, because I think I'd already lived independently in India and was working and had sort of, made some decisions that I probably should not have made at that time, so that when I did come to my MBA and was financing myself, I, tried to be as good as possible. But I think really just, I met my husband at Johnson Wales. He used to show up to class when he didn't have class, or so is the story that I will believe.
That's his secret.
That's his secret, yes. No, I don't think it's a secret anymore. But no, I think it was really just the fact that I spent a great deal of my life there and still have wonderful relationships that I really
12 years. 12 years at Johnson.
And if you had asked me then, I would never have thought that, because the reason I had come to the U.S. was, to the AGM, which was a great goal, but at the same time, I think I found some new opportunities that I would never have. So I think I would just say keep an open mind and have a goal in mind. You definitely want to do that, but at the same time, keep an open mind, because you just never know. I think there are jobs right now that have not been created, right? 5 years ago, there was no social media manager. I think restaurants are now designing not just their food, but their tables and their napkins for Instagram. So think about what does not exist, and that would be my advice, not really a secret.
All right, Matt.
My other secret is I burned every single cookie I ever made. Every single one.
My secret is I ate those cookies.
Trust me, you didn't want it. They're like blackberries.
So many different ways I can go with this. Something that people might not know about me when I was at Johnson & Wales, I always had the focus of being in the hotel industry. I knew that's where I wanted to be, but I was very entrepreneurial. So I tried to start a lot of businesses during school. You actually inspired me to tell the story when you said you had 10 no's for you're not afraid to get a no. maybe 10 no's for every yes. I probably had about 50 no's before I got the first yes. But my sophomore year, I was living on the east side of Providence, and I wasn't in a fraternity, but we had 8 guys in this house, which seemed like a fraternity sometimes. And I looked around and I tried to see what resources we had with the talent, the different areas of study that my friends and roommates were in. One was doing web design, and the other had a passion for photography. And we happened to live down the street from RISD, Rhode Island School of Design. So I scratched my head and said, how can we put all these things together? So I snuck into RISD one afternoon, started talking to some students, and I said, listen, allow me to sell your artwork on a website that wasn't designed yet, I didn't tell them that part, on consignment, and we'll put it online. This is before Amazon days and everything. I thought it was a brilliant idea until I found out, that these college students wanted $5 million for, a sculpture that they made during one of the classes. But it was a great learning experience. And I think, just trying things and doing things like that, I knew that I needed, to have a solid career and a path. But when you try things on the exterior and just go for it, sometimes those failures, we'll call it a total failure. I did end up selling the business for $500 whole to the other roommate. I probably should have had to.
That's awesome. All right, let's take some questions. And guys, hang on to the mic. Repeat the question for our friends on Brazen as well, too, so they can hear it. Don't be shy. All the way in the back.
My question is for Mike. Are you actively involved in charity for children and food, getting food to them in schools?
Yes.
Repeat.
Oh, I'm sorry. The question is, are we actively involved in charity type programs with our products and within schools and things of that nature? Absolutely. For us, we started our what we call our Global Cares program a number of years ago, where we work with a lot of various charities, organizations. But over the last couple of years, we've really worked closely with an organization called Be Strong. So Be Strong is a bullying resiliency. So it's not really an anti thing. We don't believe in the fact that you're going to be able to stop bullying. We believe in the fact that teaching these children how to deal with it. And through kind of working with them, our relationship started about 4 years ago. We have created a variety of different things. We have helped them and funded their launch of the We Dine Together program, which is student-led. It's in 43 states, and it works to ensure that no child eats alone. We have sponsored their app, which kids can go on, plug in their area code, zip code, whatever it might be. It's all anonymous. They can get access to food insecurity resources, housing, shelter, situations like they may be abusive home, medical care. Pretty much everything these kids have access to for free in a centralized location. We have done large-scale events. We brought 2,500 New York City school kids in to Carnegie Hall this past October for an anti-bullying and resiliency event. We've used some logos and co-branded some of our packaging as well to kind of take that message, use our platform, reaching millions of kids every single day and month, to promote these messages not only in the localized region but around the country. So for us, the amount of charity work we're doing is continuing to grow on a pretty much bi-weekly basis at this point. We'll probably do about 20 different events a year, which some of them are much larger scale, like at Carnegie Hall, bringing in 2,500 New York City school kids. So really trying to find a variety of different ways to tie all these messages from anti-bullying, food insecurity, all the way through to helping these charities with their resources and things they have going on for themselves.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Other questions? All the way in the back. You guys should have been in the front row. Stand up if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
This is for the whole panel. I feel like we probably just heard Jordan, but what were some of the more rewarding projects you guys have worked on?
So some of the more rewarding projects you've been involved with.
Gosh, so many. I think, what were some of the rewarding projects that I've worked with? I think there's one right now that has a lot to do with our team member recognition. And we realized that in a lot of times, Flick is delivering a service, but we're representing a different company, right? So we might be representing Lufthansa, Emirates, or British Airways. And so our team members are delivering a service without the guests being able to experience a difference. We want it to be seamless. And we realized that our frontline was getting all these great comments, and in the form of a little guest appreciation note. And we started tracking these and realized that our team was actually getting so many that we were able to send 2 of our frontline team members over to London. They flew business class, had a fabulous experience. I mean, their managers in some cases have not had that experience with our client airlines. They were treated like royalty and got to be part of the celebration. And I think to me that was really rewarding. They came back and there were hugs and all sorts of great emotion. And even as they were leaving for their trip, they were telling me how excited they had their hair and nails and everything done to be part of that event. So, I think ultimately in my industry, it's all about our people. And anytime we could do something to recognize the people that are making the magic happen, there's nothing more rewarding than that.
Matt, sure.
Something that's coming up actually next week that I'm very proud of. 2009, during the downturn, there was a coalition formed called MMB, Meetings Mean Business. They found that they're one of the first things to get cut, usually when especially a corporation is losing profits, are the meeting planning, the event planning, those type of departments. And to keep the power of the meeting, face-to-face focused industry, this coalition was formed. And every year there's something called GMID, which stands for Global Meeting Industry Day. It happens to be a week from Thursday, next Thursday, April 4th. We'll be lighting some of the iconic buildings around the city in blue to show the power of the meetings industry, like the Empire State Building, One World Observatory, and we'll be hosting an educational summit during the day. That's actually going to go to benefit human trafficking, so that's really an important thing to talk about. So very proud of that, and then we'll finish off in the evening with a celebration of the industry. Proud to say that the hospitality industry in New York City employs over 400,000 people and growing. And we just recently announced that we broke the record last year, 2018, with over 65 million travelers into New York City.
Wow.
Now they set another goal for us, so we're going to break 67 million this year, which I'm confident we'll do with everyone in the industry support. But that's all really exciting. Of course, it's a team effort and a city effort, but that's something I think we're all proud of.
Wow. Fabulous. Matt, Mike, Akanksha, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Liza, do you want to close out? Lloyd?
Yes. Hi. Oh, yes. You don't have to go anywhere. Yeah. Stay right here. Stay right here by the Wildcat. Hi, everyone. If I don't already know you, my name is Lori Zabata. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations for Johnson & Wales University and a proud alumna myself from the class of 95, Providence campus. I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight, especially our panel. Let's give them a round of applause. Hazem, Akanksha, Mike, Matt, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us. They are part of your network. We have thousands of alumni. I'm not going to give you an exact number because I'm being recorded, right? Tens of thousands, I'll say that. Tens of thousands of alumni in this metro area that are part of your network. They are all graduates of the same university as you. These folks are part of that network. I appreciate you coming out tonight to get to meet them. We'll move into the next part of our evening, which is networking, where you get to meet each other. So I know that you all came with some folks. If you did, I appreciate that too. Make sure that you tell your friends for the next time as well. But try to branch out a little bit and not just hang with the people that you're with, so that way you get to really network with the other folks in the room. This is why we do events like this. But I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight, and I appreciate our panel. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with all of us and explaining to us about how you got to where you are today. This is a really important message for us all. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and thank you for spending some time with us.